I'm ready to roll if
Okay.
you are.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, it's great to meet you. Thank you for taking a minute out today. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's dig into your world of coaching, being an entrepreneur. You're a best-selling author. And before we get there, I want to know, living through this pandemic 4.5 years ago or so was a huge deal for all of us. Did so many rearranging for our lives. How did you make it through, and how has it reverberated into what you're doing today?
Yeah, that's such a great question. So, like, when the pandemic hit, it was like a ton of bricks for me.
Yeah.
I had such a heavy client load. And back then, I was meeting with my clients in person. So, on one hand, I needed the break
Yeah.
of the shutdown where we couldn't go out of the house and everything. And on the other hand, I had to kind of figure out how to pivot because meeting with my clients, I'm a very in-person person.
Yeah.
And so I like to meet with my clients because you can kind of feel the energy, right?
Hmm.
So I wasn't able to do that in person. So I had to make a huge shift and pivot to say, all right, we got to do this online thing. My clients hated it. I wasn't too thrilled with it, but here we are.
Yeah. Yeah. So talk to me a little bit about what you do, everything that you do on a daily basis today. And to do that, to simplify it, so to speak, I'm going to put you in front of a bunch of grade school kids. It's career day. And one of the kids in the back of the room is like, hey, what do you do for a living? How do you answer them?
Absolutely. So I help leaders strengthen their self-awareness so that they can really lead dynamic teams to greatness. That is literally what I do.
Okay. So what did you want to be in the third grade? What was your dream?
I actually wanted to be an entrepreneur. That
Okay.
was one of the things I wanted to do.
Okay.
I wanted to be an author. I wanted to be an actress. Like everything that I wanted to do, I've done
You've
it.
you've lived the dream. So take
Yeah.
me back to your childhood. Where were you born and raised? What were these foundational seeds of being an entrepreneur, being an author? How did all of these get woven into your destiny?
Oh, it's such a funny story. So I'm originally from Chicago,
Okay.
and so born and raised there. And I actually grew up in foster care. And so one of the homes that I lived in was I lived with her for like 7 years. I was, they call it mischievous. I call it misunderstood. And so I would have to often be confined to my room. And so back then we had encyclopedias. The only thing that I was allowed was books in my room. So I read all of the encyclopedias. I literally was just like in my room learning about random stuff. And so I began writing, but my writing was because I was angry. So I was writing like, I hate this, I hate that. And so because I began writing, I was like, well, what if I made like a little play? So I started writing little plays and skits and stuff and had my little furry stuffed animals and I would perform for them. And literally I was like, oh, this is what I want to do when I grow up.
Yeah.
And I saw, we were in class and I saw Dr. King speaking. I was like, oh, the rest is history for me. I knew I wanted to speak, I wanted to be on the stage, and I wanted to wow people. So that's literally how I got started,
Yeah.
was back then doing that. And so then the home that I lived in, we were considered the candy lady. So I started becoming an entrepreneur because that's what she was.
Yeah.
I didn't know that that's what that was, but I was like, oh, okay. But the more we did it, the more I wanted to say, I want to do this.
Yeah.
And at the age of 13, I learned how to play four instruments. So I was playing the piano for the children's choir and getting paid for it.
Wow.
So I've literally been an entrepreneur since I was 13.
Wow, that's a great story. So talk to me a little bit about how you got to this point. How did you realize coaching and literally publishing and all of these things were going to be your destiny? What was the first moment that you knew this was it?
So I'll tell you this. I kind of stumbled into it
Yeah.
because people would always come to me, right? They would always come to me for advice. They would ask questions. They would say, "Oh, you have such a calming demeanor and you listen well. Can you tell me what you think about X, Y, and Z?" And so then I would listen and I would say, "Oh, well, I've done that before." And it just became a thing because backing up, I was a nanny for many years. And as a nanny, I would go into homes and help families with their children, but I had a knack for working with children with behavior challenges.
Yeah,
So I became the woman who helped the kids ADHD, ADD, all the D's, they bring them to me.
yeah.
And so what happened was one year I had so many clients, I started a summer camp just for my nanny families. Well, they told all their friends. I ended up with 35 kids my first year, and every year it doubled in size. And so I would have a line of parents at the door saying, "Miss Tameka, the weekend is coming up. What are we going to do with these kids?" I'm like, "I don't know, those your kids." And so I began coaching, and I didn't even know that that's what that was
Yeah.
until one day, one of my mentors was like, "You're coaching, right?" I'm like, "Is that what this is?" And so when I retired, I said, "Okay." I started working with my families that I used to work with, the parents, coaching them. They told their friends. The rest is history.
Wow. So who's been your hero? Who's been that inspirational force for you to do all this good work in your life?
So I would say that there are three people that were my mentors from afar, if you will. Dr. King was one.
Yeah.
Maya Angelou was another one, and Malcolm X. Those are the three that I felt like that would encompass my entire being and everything that I do. I was just like,
Yeah.
yeah, I want to do it. I like that. I love Maya Angelou, how she, spoke and was just so eloquent. I love Dr. King's influence and how he, led movements. And Malcolm X, rebellion. What can I say?
Yeah. The backstories are amazing. I read a Maya Angelou book recently. I had no idea the things that she went through and how close to death she was. Like with that early boyfriend she had and all of these things. It was just amazing that she got to a point in her life that was so esteemed and she became that beacon for so many people. It's
Mhm.
crazy, you
It
know.
is. It
So
is.
So, of all the people that exist on the planet right now, if
Mhm.
you could meet one inspirational person that would help you on your journey, hang out with them, see how they live, ask questions, who would that be?
LeBron James, or King James, as they call him. I
Yeah.
just is like one of my favorite humans that's walking the earth right now.
You know what
LeBron.
you know what's interesting? My wife is a high school teacher and she was doing Black History Month and they were talking about digging into figures and she was talking about Martin Luther King and a lot of other people and she said all the kids were like saying LeBron James. But she was like, I want you to dig a little bit more. And I was like, well, wait, hold on a second. LeBron, when you look at what he's done, I mean, so this is a guy that didn't need to go back to Cleveland to win a championship for that city, right? He just
Yep.
didn't. He was in South Beach. He was doing fine. He could have leaped right to LA or he could have gone to any other big city, but he went back. He's got a really good family. How many people have their own kid play with them, right? In the NBA, like what Bronny's doing. And he's giving back. He has schools. He's doing all this. That's the thing that kills me about him. Whenever he gets all these pot shots, because I know there's this comparison to MJ and all this, but at the end of the day, the thing about him is that what he's done just overall statistically and beyond the court has been stellar. He's completely a role model. And my wife was like, wow, yeah, maybe, she just saw it in a new perspective because typically when people hear about LeBron, it's the comparison or it's
Yeah.
just what he's done on the court. I don't think people realize what he's done and what he stands for off the court.
Exactly. And someone like myself, that's what I do. I literally dig into people's lives and study them, especially leaders. And I was just like, "Oh man, he is awesome."
Yeah, he is. He totally is. So let me ask you this. What is it that gets you up every day to do all of this work? Because at the end of the day, you're doing heavy things to help people get to a better place. You're taking their stuff on for multiple clients, but you also have to evolve and do what you need to do as a human being. How do you balance all that? What gets you up every day?
Well, that's the reason why I wrote my latest book, Your It Factor, right? I know that it is because of what I'm doing right now. I was born to do this. And I believe that so many more people would enjoy getting out of bed if they knew how to tap into their it factor and do what they were born to do.
Yeah,
So just because of that reason alone, I love getting out of bed. I love saying, yes, let me pour into myself because that's literally my whole routine. I
yeah,
pour into me first so that everything that I spill out into the world is are things that are very good and kind and loving and all of the stuff. But I have to pour it into myself first,
yeah,
and then I'm able to spill it out into the world. But that's the reason why.
yeah. I dig it. So let me ask you this. To become a better leader, to become really good at what you do, there's levels of risk. There's risks you take in life. What's the biggest risk that you've ever taken?
Ooh, becoming an entrepreneur as a single mother.
Yeah,
Woo, that was the riskiest thing. And the reason why, because like I told you, I was a nanny.
yeah,
So the reason why I became a nanny, I love children, first of all. But remember, I was a single mom.
yeah,
So I needed to do something where I can take care of my children, make other people's lives better, and make money at the same time.
yeah,
Nannying was the way.
yeah, yeah.
So that was the biggest risk.
So let me ask you this. Let's say you have a dream tonight. You walk into that room when you're much younger and you're reading that encyclopedia, and you can give that version of you a piece of advice based on this life you've led, the wisdom you've accumulated over all these years. What advice would you give that young version of you?
Oh, you know what? I would give the advice I would give would be trust yourself more.
Yeah,
If someone says something to you that innately you believe is not true, trust yourself more. Because if I had trust myself more, it would not have taken me decades, literally decades. From age 9 was when I first got on a stage. Decades, okay, would pass before I would professionally get on a stage again. So, and it was because I didn't trust myself.
yeah.
And I didn't trust myself because of, you know, the words that were spoke into me as a child. So I would say trust myself more.
What's the best advice you've ever gotten?
Hmm. Don't take things personally.
Yeah, man, you
Yeah.
only get that through wisdom, being alive long enough, right?
Yeah. Yes. Don't take things personally. Like literally, whether it's a compliment or a criticism, don't take it personally. So,
So, of everything that you've accomplished and evolved into, what are you ultimately the proudest of?
ooh, my children.
Yeah, of course.
My children. I would say that of all of my accomplishments, raising humans who don't suck has been the best.
Yeah,
Has been the best, especially given my background. I wasn't privy to what I consider the basic human need of having a family. I wasn't privy to that. I had to borrow other people's family being in foster care. So being able to raise humans who are amazing people, and I have a grandson, it's been the best for me.
absolutely. So, at the end of the day, everyone has a perception of you, family, friends, clients, readers, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Ooh, I love that question. Who do I think I am?
Right to it.
Right? So I used to think that that question was a bad question. Who do you think you are?
Yeah,
I love it now.
yeah,
And what I realize is that most people don't know who they are. I didn't know who I was. I would immediately say, I'm a mom, I'm this. That's what you do, right?
Yeah.
Who I am is I'm inspiring, I'm intellectual, I am, I can be irate. Injustice makes me irate, but I am a woman who is someone who inspires people, who helps to transform to leaders to get from one side to the next side so that they can build teams that help them do great things. So that's who I am.
So, what's the best letter that you've gotten? Best fan letter from a book, from your work? Is there a letter, a response that stands out?
Yeah. So, I would have to say that one that stands out the most is how one woman said, Tameka, I'm sitting here in tears because you asked the question, who are you? And it really, I did the things that you said. Hey, I'm a mom, I'm this, the things that I do. It wasn't until you broke down what and how you dig deep to find who you are that really helped me. And I wish that there were more people on the planet like you. Oh, I was like, what do you say to that?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So,
Yeah.
if anyone wants to pick up your work, they want to hire you, they want to look into what you're doing, ask questions, any of the good business, where do they go?
Anywhere on the web, Fun Coach Tameka.
Okay. Okay.
Anywhere because my clients dubbed me the Fun Coach.
Oh, yeah.
And fun is actually an acronym. I help people find unmet needs.
Yes.
So Fun Coach Tameka, you can find me everywhere.
Absolutely. We'll have it in the show notes. Tamika, it was so nice to meet you. Thank you so much. You radiate. I appreciate your story and your time today.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
Yes, it's been wonderful. Thank you.